Hi, this is John Rull for the Rull Report. Today is Wednesday, August 6, 2025, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel, especially current subscribers, and also would like to get right in on the topic for today, which is the Forever Wars culture. Here we go again. How does that sound to you is my question. Here we go again. If this is going to be another Forever War, how do you feel that we're starting to get into language about nuclear submarines and possible nuclear conflict and the dead hand, which was mentioned as a Russian nuclear response in case their entire leadership is wiped out in a nuclear attack. They will still launch all their missiles towards the United States, and the United States will still suffer the same end. This wasn't a nuclear threat against the United States. It was simply stating the fact that there's a system in place in case they think that they can win a nuclear war. Nuclear wars are not winnable. So when we start to see all that's going on in Ukraine and the fact that President Donald Trump is taking more and more ownership of this conflict, does that make you feel good? Is that something that you think is positive? Is this going to bring about something beneficial for the United States, for Ukraine, and for the rest of the world? So that's my first point about the Forever Wars. The second point is that the Forever War culture is, what they call mission creep, which is where they start with a very small goal, which they promise is this is the goal of this conflict. And once they are there, then they begin to expand that, like happened in Afghanistan. First, it was to remove the Taliban from power and to close all the terror training centers. And next thing we knew, the goal was to do nation building, and something that the United States is terrible at. So they spent 20 years there trying to do nation building. They achieved literally nothing. And along the way, they made all these promises and they made all these rosy assessments about how things were going. And so the easiest way to see the Forever Wars culture is alive and well in a particular event is that we're getting all these rosy assessments and we're getting all these promises, a little bit more, just a few more, howitzers, just a few more tanks, just a few more missiles, just a few more F-16s, just a few more F-16 pilots, just a few more long-range missiles, just a few more intermediate range tactical nuclear missiles, and after that it all goes downhill from there. So we can see the kind of the step by step movement as we're getting pulled in more and more and more into this conflict. And but we do hear these rosy assessment. The Ukrainians are fine. No one's talking about the fact that they're running out of soldiers, that they're, the soldiers that are being sent to the front lines are, were walking on a street 3 or 4 days ago and were pulled off the street, put in a white van, sent to a training center where they, basically given a gun and told how to fire it, and they're thrown into a ditch and say, okay, well, you need to be able to take that trench, and they get like, a day class on taking a trench, and then the next day they're told how to salute and how to follow orders and how to use a radio, and the next day they're put on a van and they're sent to the front lines. And so their survival is very poor. But no one here is talking about the bad situation that's currently occurring in the Ukraine military, very similar to how we ignored the situation among the Afghan forces that were being trained. Nobody said, hey, these guys don't even have a third grade education and they don't know how to read uh, uh, a maintenance manual. They don't know how to do maintenance. They don't know how to operate it. And they don't understand English. We don't understand them. Nobody said, hey, these Afghan forces are not ready to go, and they're not ready to do anything. What we were told is that the Afghan forces were active, and they were managing, and they were taking control, and the Taliban were still hiding out in the mountains because these Afghan forces that we trained were, they were ready to go and they were tough and no one was going to mess with them. But that was a complete misevaluation of the whole situation. These Afghan forces were not ready to take over, and as we started to pull out, um, the Taliban was taking over more and more territory until basically the whole deck of the house of cards collapsed. We're starting to see that situation in Ukraine with the recruitment of new soldiers. They're not ready to fight. They're not ready to operate in a military situation. And so this is another clear sign of the forever wars, where we get this song and dance about the situation on the ground, and we're given all this rosy picture, and all we need to do is send more money, send more weapons, and everything will be fine. So um, I think that as we start to get deeper into the situation, we can expect a big announcement on August 8th, and I will do my best to come back and make a comment about that announcement. But I can see that the uh, the the meeting between President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and President Vladimir Putin didn't result in anything positive, and so we will be having probably some strong announcements and strong words on the August the 8th, if not before. And so this is all going in a very negative direction. What President Trump should do is recognize the situation that the Ukraine army is near collapse, that they need to salvage what they can before the whole, you can call, house of cards collapses. We may not be at that point quite yet. Some were forecasting that it to happen during the month of August. So it doesn't seem like we're at that point yet. But I did hear that they were planning to start mobilizing women in September. So that would be another clear sign that they've completely ran out of men for soldiers. Now they need to start with women. And this would be another clear indication that their collapsing house of cards is collapsing faster, and that that this situation is now going to be completely out of control. So that actually would be good in my point of view, so that this conflict could end. So this conflict really at this point is only going to end with a Ukraine victory or a Russian victory, and it doesn't look at all like Ukraine has what it takes to win this war. They're constantly ceding territory, falling back, and some may say, well, that is tactical. And then once they fall back and the Russians advance, they destroy those Russian forces. Well, all you have to do is look at the progress of the Russian forces on the ground and see that this isn't tactical. This is they're being forced back by the Russians, and some of their forces are being encircled. Their big eastern cities are about to fall, the ones that the Russians occupied in 2022 and then were pushed out of shortly after that. So anyway, I just want to conclude this video is here we go again, another forever war. Is this good? Is this bad? How do you feel about that? I don't feel very good that we're taking the taxpayer money and sending it to a war that can't be won, when we could build bridges and roads and airports, and we could improve our infrastructure in this country. And we're not helping the Ukrainians. I mean, as their forces collapse and they put more and more people on the front line who are less and less prepared, their mortality rate is going up drastically. So this isn't good for them. So the fact that their leadership are unwilling to come to the table with any real offers to Russia to find a peaceful solution is a very good sign that this war is going to end very badly for them, and that's very unfortunate. It's sad, but there's nothing I can do about it. But I think that in order to get out of these forever wars, we need to engage with other countries uh, with a realistic and a cooperative tone, rather than we're in charge and you follow our orders. So many countries now have advanced in their development, and they're showing signs that they don't they're not willing to bend to the will of the United States, and that doesn't make them the axis of evil. It just makes them, independent nations who are able to stand up for their own sovereignty. So I'll just conclude the report today by saying that I expect things to deteriorate in Ukraine and the relationship between Russia and the United States, and we should see more of that on the 8th, and I'll come back on the 8th or before to try to give some updates on the situation. So anyway, have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining me, and I wish you the very best. Bye bye.